Assalamu alaikum, ahlan wa salam fi Noor Riyadh. Welcome and good evening to Noor Riyadh. My name is Shumantra Ghosh. I'm the artistic director of Noor Riyadh. Noor Riyadh is the annual festival of light art of the Riyadh Art Project, which is an initiative of the Royal Commission for Riyadh City that's literally transforming this city into a gallery without walls. Noor Riyadh opened a week ago. We've already had over 100,000 visitors, adhering to the strictest conditions in terms of social distancing and hygiene. And we're showing across the city of Riyadh 63 artworks in 13 different locations and a special exhibition called Light Upon Light. The theme of Noor Riyadh is Under One Sky. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment, but this, of course, is the title and the theme of the talk this evening, Under One Sky, Light Art and the Cosmos. And for tonight's panel, I'm joined from Amsterdam by Justus Bruns and Mingus Vogel. Both are artists and designers from the group Wow. And also by Anas Almajed, joining us from Riyadh. He's an astro-photographer. And joining from Milan, we have Giovanni Fantoni Modena, who is a technologist and an artist and a filmmaker. So just before we go to each one of these creative, talented panelists we have this evening, I just wanted to say a little bit more about the theme Under One Sky. Because when we started to work on Noor Riyadh, one of the things we explored was the idea why people look at light art. And by extension, why do they look at light? Why do we look in wonder at a sunrise or a sunset? Why do humans gather around a campfire and stare into the flames? And of course, why do humans the world over gaze in wonder at the night sky and think about the cosmos? The stars have inspired art for centuries and also inspired philosophy. And the panelists we have this evening, I think, have taken very different approaches to exploring the night sky and the cosmos. And I wanted to go, first of all, to Justus Bruns and Mingus Vogel. You're both based in Amsterdam. You have a design studio called Wow, an award-winning design studio. The work that you do is often looking at how design can contribute to social cohesion. Your work has, I think, elements of humor to it. It brings wonder. And you'll be telling us a bit about your wonderful city gazing installation, which is in the historical centre here in Riyadh as one of the, as I mentioned, one of the 63 artworks that we have. But intriguingly, you're technologists, but you both have a background in industrial design, but you talk about slow tech. What exactly is slow tech? And can you tell us a little bit more about your work and your studio?
Yes, for sure. First of all, it's a great honor to be here and to be part of this incredible festival. So thank you for having us. A little bit about our work, especially on slow tech, and you were saying already on the gazing in the campfire, bringing people together, and we're basically doing that. So maybe we can pull up one of the slides that shows a little bit of our work and zoom in onto that. That explains the slow tech approach a little bit better, or we do that later, depends. But effectively what we're trying to do is we're looking at technology, and we see the impact of technology that is sort of having on our lives, and it has positive consequences, but it does also have some negative consequences. And we're basically looking, how can we use technology to bring people closer together, to bring people closer to nature. So this is nicely visualized in the sort of the next slide in this presentation, where we show a little bit, or give a little bit of sneak peek of that on thinking of this question, whether this is about mesmerizing on how our cities are growing, or thinking of how our technologies that is in our phones, how we can use that to bring us together. And so that's a little bit how we work. But we want to give you one example that shows that a little bit better. So I'll let Mingus explain.
Yeah, so really it's about technology has made our lives faster and of course also a lot better. But for example, as you see on the next slide, it also has made us, for example, since the introduction of the smartphone, it has made us more lonely. And it has actually made us grow further apart from each other, even though we're more connected than ever. So we thought, how can we use that same technology, not throw it away, but how can we use that same technology to bring people together? And on the next slide, you see what we came up with, and that's called the chair wave. And it's a row of public chairs, where at the beginning one chair is open, and the moment you sit down on the chair, the two chairs next to you fold open. So this is really to bring people together in public space, to basically force them to sit next to each other, which is always a bit awkward, but that maybe sparks a conversation. And of course, this is in COVID times. This was made before COVID, so it's now, of course, a different story. But I do think we need this to relearn how to get in touch with strangers again. You can also see on the next slide, we tested the chairwave in real life. So in Zaandam, which is a city next to Amsterdam, we tested if strangers sat together. And well, they actually, in 1 hour, no one sat next to another. And then we placed the chairwave, as you can see on the next slide.
There were about 60 seats. So 60, there was quite a lot of space, and we saw people walking in. One person was sitting there, the other person sitting a bit further away. If you see the next, if you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here you see the chairwave that is then placed.
You see it placed, and because we gather the data of all the chairs when they sit down, when people sit down and when they stand up, we can show we can see how many times people sit next to each other. So on the next slide, you see the results of 24 hours, and you see that 216 people sat down, and 21 people, strangers, actually sat next to each other. So it's really interesting to see how this can really spark a conversation in public space. And I think
so. You're literally measuring the social impact of your designs.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we would like things to of course to work, so that it's not really just talk, but also that it actually works. And we also tested it to see if people really get this awkward feeling, but they do start. It is a conversation starter in that sense.
And what is maybe interesting also to tell is that we looked a little bit more into studies. After all, we were first designers, then we're sort of artists, and we always want to understand a little bit how these processes go. And what is interesting is that loneliness has a huge impact on us. So the moment that we start to feel lonely, and at the moment that it gets more and more, which we now realize in those COVID times, especially here in Amsterdam, where we have a much tougher lockdown than, for example, in Saudi Arabia, that has an impact on our immunity system. It has an impact on how our heart works. It has an impact on higher chances of getting cancer. So it's very important to say hi at the bakery, to get these physical interactions. So we're looking at how can we use this. And another work I would like to show you is the bloom light that you see in the next slide. It's just really about, again, bringing people together. So what you were saying earlier about gazing in the campfire, we're looking at designing a new kind of lantern. It's a bit dark here in the picture, but effectively it's a lantern that bends towards a person that is passing by, and it's like almost like a curious animal. So it's really looking who's there, and then opening up and giving more light. And then when you walk away, it also bends back and falls to its original position and giving very little light. Also respecting the fact that we cannot see the stars with a lot of light, so we also thought about being friendly to nature here. So this is very much, we're trying to sort of look at technology and see how can we use this to sort of not really fix, but at least come up with suggestions how we can see those social problems as ways that can be solved with design, art, and technology.
Yeah, because a lot of technology, of course, is quite scary. So you have AI or face detection and things like that, which are, of course, very incredible technologies, but they have this scary feel. And we wanted to say, like, okay, how can we use these things to make art, basically? That's not scary. That's also not dangerous in a sense. So that's what we try to do at the work. And on the next slides, you see some more pictures of the bloom light. Here you see it more, because it's a bit dark. So it's really an organic way, organic variant of street lighting.
Yeah, where most times when you use technology, it's always straight lines. It's like a robot goes like very straight, and this really bends forward. You can go to the next slide so you can see a little bit more how it works, how it feels. It's also very much inspired how plants look, and it looks, of course, most really nice also in daylight and not only at night. And then next, you have a couple of next slides you can just go through to just give you a feel. But then, of course, we are showcasing a different work than the ones they showed, and I think it would be nice to go to the next slide and dive a little bit more into city gazing. So
this is our work, city gazing, and it's really like we're really looking into how does technology shape our world, and what does it make us? And with city gazing, we basically look at what does our planet look like from space? What do our cities look like from space? And you see really that every city is like this organism of light that slowly grows bigger and bigger. And this is City Gazing Beijing, which we made for the Riverside Museum in Beijing. And on the next slide, you see City Gazing Singapore, which is an installation of 24 meters wide, where you see the development of Singapore over the last 100 years. So you really see this small start, and you see it growing over the years.
Yeah, you can also jump to the next video. Yeah, exactly, and you get a little bit of a sense again of that growing. And this is also what is interesting. We did a similar work for Riyadh, but then obviously it's very interesting to see the difference in how cities have developed.
Yeah, for sure.
We're looking at Singapore here, are we? Is this the one?
We're looking at Singapore. This is not. Yes, good. But I'm just explaining you that that in both cases we studied, especially Mingus did a lot of work here. Studied the map. In the case of Riyadh, we studied all the maps and had a really interesting insight on how those cities develop. They're almost like funguses, right? So they're really, in a sense, almost organic beings that live their own way and go their own routes. We cannot really control it. We cannot say, let's make a straight line here, let's make another straight line. At one point, you see it going its own way.
And in the next slide, you can actually see the work we made for Riyadh, which we're really pleased about how it turned out. And we used the most components and most LEDs in this one, so it's really a step further. And it also shows because Riyadh has really been from the last 50 years growing like crazy, and it's such an enormous city. So that's really you really see because it's a city actually in a desert, so it's really a fragile thing, which is at the same time huge, and you feel like it will be there forever. But we need to remind ourselves at the same time that it's
very fragile.
Yeah, very fragile.
Talking about the fragility, it's actually, if you go to the next slide, where you can clearly have this sort of campfire vibe that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It is also the viewpoint that astronauts have, right? So astronauts come back with this thing called overview effect, where they have seen the vulnerability of the planet, where they have seen the cities that look like funguses like this one, and they come back and they realize this planet is super fragile. We have to treat it very carefully. And this is the same message that we would like to send out, not only showing the grandeur of the city and how it has expanded and how it has grown, but also to make people aware of the fragility of their cities, that they should take care of the surroundings to make sure that they can live on, right? The same vibe that astronauts have. And with that, I think that brings us to the last part, because I don't want to talk too long.
I should just point out, for those of you who are not able to be in Riyadh, that you those of us who live in Riyadh, that familiar street pattern, we see it as we arrive by aircraft, coming in, and it's like coming home, and it's something that really impacts you almost emotionally when you see the place from the sky that is your home. But what we're actually looking at here is, interestingly, you've reversed it, haven't you? So you're actually underneath. Instead of looking down, you're looking up. And as the lights sequence off, and then on, as they sequence off, you can look through and actually see the stars behind, which is something you could never do if you were actually up high.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for making it extra clear, Sumi. But the thing, then the last part that we want to show in the next slide is about another work that we did actually that we wanted to create for people to bring almost like this feeling down to home, but also to sort of remind them again of the fragility and of this planet, right? Because the moment that we are surrounded by all these street lights, we cannot see the stars anymore, right? So we feel very big. We fear we can do everything, but we tend to forget we're actually a very small part in this giant universe. So we created this work called Lightbox City Gazing that actually lets you switch off your light at home and then gaze at the stars. So effectively turning off all the lights of the city and then seeing the grandeur of the sky. So that's something.
So it really automatically it switches from like the city view, and then when you turn off your lights at home, you suddenly see the night sky, and basically it encourages actually to have more like or Earth days or days where we could actually turn off all the lights in our city, and then you remind what the night sky looks like, because that's really something you've all experienced it when you're somewhere on a holiday. If you're living in cities and somewhere on a holiday, you suddenly see the night sky and think, wow, I've never seen it like this before.
Yeah, and the last two slides are showing actually that change. So this is when it's sort of on, and the next one slide shows it when it's actually off. And I think we can end on that note of gazing at the stars. It's they're a bit dark here on the screen, but they're actually really there. So thanks a lot for giving and this opportunity to introduce our work to you all.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back to you in a moment. And I ought to point out actually that this coming Saturday is Earth Hour, so 8:30 to 9:30 all around the world. People will be turning off their lights for 1 hour, and at Noor Riyadh we're participating in that, and you'll see all of our installations gradually being turned off. Everything will be off by 8:30, and then we'll be turning back on again at 9:30. And Under One Sky, when I created this theme, as I said, it was very much about the idea of gathering. In Arabic, تجمعنا سماء واحدة. It's actually takes the root of we gather. It's a root in Arabic that also refers to the words for mosque and university, for example. And so we like the idea of gathering. And of course, it took on a completely different meaning with the global pandemic. But there was an intended reference to the Earth, to one Earth. We only have one Earth. We only have one sky. So we hadn't planned that Earth Hour would be in the middle of our festival, but it is. So we're very much respecting that, and that will be part of what we're actually doing. We're about halfway through the talks program of Noor Riyadh, and I have to say we have nearly 70 speakers, a lot of artists, some writers, some filmmakers, but we only have one person who describes himself as an astro-photographer, and that is Anas Almajed, who actually you have a degree in business administration, and this hobby of yours, you're a freelance photographer, Anas, but you, in the past few years, you have become an astrophotographer, and I think I'm fascinated in what exactly that is and how do you become an astrophotographer?
First of all, thank you for having me in this wonderful panel. Around 7 years ago, I was in front of a telescope shop here in Riyadh, and I was curious to see what they are. I looked at all kinds of telescope on display, and I wanted just to get one, and I did. So I just went home and started to observe with it. And then after 5 years, I wanted to start capturing these objects. After learning the basics with my previous knowledge of photography, I was able to capture the Orion Nebula. As you can see here, this was my first captured image of a celestial object. I loved it so much. And I've decided to keep on capturing them as much as I can. When I go out in the desert to capture these images, I stay the whole night and I even sleep there next to my telescope until morning. I need to do that in case I want to get a very clear image of these faint objects. To capture an object, I need multiple pictures of the same target. When you capture lots of pictures and stack them together, you get a good image. Of course, you will need a camera, astronomy or normal one, it doesn't matter. You also need a mount, which is the one that holds your equipment together and tracks the object of the sky. You also need a telescope or a lens. You can manually aim the telescope at the object, or you can use a computer or a hand controller. Send commands to the mount so it aims at what you want. So previously there was a picture here. It's the Andromeda Galaxy. I captured it and it took me around 8 hours. As you can see here, it took me around 8 hours of image time to get this image. This galaxy is around 2.5 million light years away from Earth, and it's the nearest galaxy from us. Make you think how small and humble we are compared to the vast universe. Inside our galaxy, we can observe or photograph, like this one here. It's called the Flame and Horsehead Nebula. A nebula is a giant cloud of dust and gas in space. Some nebula from the gas and dust thrown out by the explosion of a dying star, such as a supernova. Other nebula are regions where new stars beginning to form. If you want to start imaging these targets, you can start off by getting a small tracker like this one here. As you can see, this is a very small tracker, very portable and easy to use. You just put a camera in it and aim it at the star Polaris, the North Star. This way, your camera can stay on target. You are shooting for hours. So you don't really need to start on heavy equipment. To get good results, you need just a normal camera and a tracker, as I showed you just before. But if you want to capture a very bright object like the moon, you can just get a camera and a tripod and just take as many pictures as you want.
Is this picture taken just with a camera and tripod, or do you the one of the moon that we're looking at right now?
Yeah, the one you see right now is with just a normal camera and a tripod.
And I'm wondering, Anas, do you ever just put the camera away and just lie on your back and look at the stars with the naked eye?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like a fascinating view.
And of course, it's one of the great pleasures of this country, a trip out to the desert. Absolutely. Well, I want to come back to you. I've got a few more questions about this sort of experience and also your work, which is really stunning work there, and the idea of the vastness of the universe, and that's the closest galaxy to us. It's an incredible thought. But I wanted to pass first to Giovanni Fantoni Modena, who is a filmmaker with a first degree actually in the philosophy of history, and also you're the founder of Vitruvian VR, which I guess is giving us a completely different view of the stars and space.
Thank you, Sumantro. Yes, I would start by quoting this sentence by Carl Sagan. It goes, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, live out their lives. Carl Sagan here is talking about, of course, the Earth. While it was pictured from the most remote distance, from Voyager back in the 70s. And so this sentence was very important for us because we wondered, what is the most immersive and powerful way to bring this sensation to the masses? And Vitruvian Virtual Reality, the company we founded, was the answer. And the Space Dive, space-related experience that you can have just on Vitruvian VR. Let's show a trailer of the experience. So this is what we do, and this VR experience is possible through the collaboration with spaceengine.org, which is an incredible software that I invite everybody to have a look online, through which you can roam among more than 130,000 celestial bodies existing in the known universe. And Vitruvian brings you out there, physically out there, with a simulator that, of course, is capable to turn you upside down as you move inside the galaxies, planets, again, thousands of celestial bodies. We wanted to bring space to the masses, to democratize what Justus before mentioned as well, the overview effect. This psychological experience that only astronauts, so only a few people could experience, looking at the Earth from the outside. And with this simulator, we are bringing it to like thousands and thousands of users that are asking to try it. What is very important for us is the philosophical aspect of virtual reality, which sometimes is mistaken for just pure entertainment. What we are doing here with Vitruvian VR, I think it's really giving to people a threshold, a metaphysical threshold to which they can really experience something that, of course, is not possible, and it will not possible for decades at least. So let's have a look at another couple of short videos. One is what Laura Winterling, the former European Space Agency trainer, thinks about the experience, because she tried firsthand. And then it's followed by some interviews that we gathered just quite recently. Let's have a look at them.
Great experience. It's you know, there's one person make this woo sound, you know, because you immerse completely in it. All your senses are in it. You're controlling the thing. You can fly. It's real fun to do loops in it, backwards, forwards, to the sides. From the imagery, it's amazing. It's what you would expect from VR. It's pretty new that you can have that speed flying, you know, from planets to planets or among stars or something like that. Quite a chill for the brain, I have to say.
Fighissimo. Spaziale.
A unique experience. Never did anything like this.
Io non avevo mai provato una cosa così e wow! Io non pensavo potesse essere così coinvolgente, anche solo banalmente i comandi, cioè ti muovi come vuoi, dove vuoi.
Ti senti completamente tirato dentro e ti sembra realmente di essere nello spazio, è una cosa bellissima.
Ne mastico di grafica e devo dire che è fatto meglio di quanto mi aspettassi. I dettagli sono veramente incredibili.
Il livello di realismo è eccezionale, proprio senti quello che ti sta succedendo, lo senti proprio sul corpo.
Andare navigare tra le galassie, tra le stelle, navigare proprio verso l'infinito, letteralmente.
Quando atterri sui pianeti, sulla Luna in particolare.
La parte finale, quando mi hai fatto correre dentro alle stelle, bellissima, ma è bellissima anche passare attraverso gli anelli di Saturno, veramente emozionante.
Probabilmente il momento più particolare è quello in cui ti togli il visore e ti rendi conto che non sei effettivamente lì dentro. Probabilmente la parola è immersione, perché ti senti totalmente immerso.
No, sinceramente no.
Didn't feel anything. Nessuna sensazione di nausea.
Anzi, era anche abbastanza rilassante stare nello spazio.
Me le aspettavo, ma nonostante 8 minuti di simulazione non ho assolutamente sentito niente. Tutte le sensazioni fisiche che ho sentito sono state belle.
Not at all. I already tried virtual reality, so I was accustomed to that, but no nausea at all.
Credo che la renderebbe ancora più bella, ancora più veramente una cosa unica.
Sarebbe bello fare partite a qualche gioco dove ogni giocatore è collegato, ognuno nel suo apparecchio, e ci si sfida a fare una specie di arcade spaziale, ma realistico e scientificamente accurato. Cioè può funzionare sia come cosa, diciamo, didattica, ma anche come cosa ludica, e combina entrambe le dimensioni.
Se devo essere sincero, lo staff è stato molto attento e si è preoccupato che io scendessi con le dovute precauzioni, le cautele.
Presente Apple e Android, no? Quando fai il paragone, no? Che la Apple è più intuitiva, l'Android invece è un pelo più complesso, puoi fare più cose. Ecco, è un mischione tra intuitivo e complesso che fa paura, cioè bellissimo. È una cosa che io consiglierei di brutto da provare e da mettere sul mercato, perché sono uno di quelli che un giorno ha voglia di prendersi la PlayStation e ci gioca per ore, però se non c'è un qualcosa di carino dopo un po' mi stufo. Qui ci passerei delle ore. Proprio decisamente di brutto.
Let me finish with a famous sentence by Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, the Roman emperor, which of course was loving the stars as much as we do. And he was saying, abide in the beauty of life. Look at the stars and watch yourself running with them. Thank you very much to everybody.
Well, thank you, Giovanni. That's a wonderful quote to finish with. But I just want to ask you one thing, and actually also perhaps ask Anas the same question, because in some senses I'm wondering whether this wonderful technology has it, and even Anas, your technology as well, which is still, a bit of tech that you need to capture those pictures. Has it somehow destroyed something of the relationship that we have with space? If you can step into a VR machine now and experiencing it, then do we really need to go to space?
No, I truly believe that we must go to space. We must visit other planets, for example, Mars, because the representation, the virtual representation, is just one way to experience it, but the exploration is something completely different. So I think we should have fun and enjoy this kind of entertaining and more than entertaining experiences, but we should keep continuing developing technologies that actually bring us out there.
I see. And what's your view, Anas? Because I was interested earlier that you said actually there are times when you just put the camera to one side and just look at the stars without photographing them.
The technology, I think it made us distant from the stars. Like when we usually now use GPS to move around, but in the past people are usually look at the stars to move around and go to whereabouts. This made it for us a little bit like we forget about the stars right now. Most people don't actually know how the Milky Way looks like, even though in the past almost everyone knows what a Milky Way looked like. So this is a little bit sad, but I think people in late years really interesting in looking at the stars and the Milky Way, and lots of events for these kind of things.
What does the Milky Way exactly look like? I've got a vague idea, but I have to say, coming from a city myself, coming from London before I moved to Riyadh, I think I've very rarely seen it. What exactly does it look like, and can we still see it here in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, of course, you can see it. It's mostly in the summer. It looks like a golden river in the sky, but you really need to go like maybe 100 kilometers away from the city, and you will just see a golden river in the sky. Right now, it shows in the eastern side, maybe around 4 a.m. until sunrise.
Interesting. And that actually brings me to a question that I wanted to ask Justus and Mingus earlier on. I mean, you both, well, I know Justus, you're from Belgium originally, but Mingus, you're both based in Amsterdam. I mean, the Netherlands is one of the most densely populated cities or countries in the world. And do you think that sense of being in a very crowded space and the light itself, there must be a lot of light pollution. Has that had an impact on your work?
Yeah, for sure. And I think in the opposite sense that like Anas, I really envy him for having the opportunity to go someplace to actually see the full night sky, because in the Netherlands, we have a couple of places that are the darkest, but they're nothing compared to if you go out in the desert. So I do think when looking at the full night sky, you've all seen it one time, then you suddenly feel humble. And I think it's really, in cities, you don't have that anymore because you don't see anything like that. So you're only consumed with your own city environment, basically. So I think it's good that we should experience that more and have more of that imagination, basically.
And where do you both stand then in Val's studio on the idea of space exploration? Because I mean, you've got a very socially engaged practice there. So I can see on the one hand the idea of slow tech, the idea of slowing down, looking at stars, but frankly, we have enough problems on Earth. I mean, isn't this just a waste of money traveling to space and even traveling to the moon, putting probes on the moon, let alone Mars?
Yeah, well, of course, it's like space travel has like a lot of benefits in terms of, for sure, for science. And I think the more we spend on science, the better. And at the same time, we live in this sort of contradiction, like we have more means to see the stars than ever. But at the same time, our skies are polluted by light. So and we can see all the galaxies. We know better than ever. We can send probes everywhere to see different planets, even go outside of our own solar system. But at the same time, we're more distant from it. We're not connected from it anymore. So I'm personally, what I want to prevent is that once space travel is possible, that it will be like an airplane flight, basically, where you just sit in front of a little TV and wait for your food.
That's a funny way of describing air travel. I have to say, I always find that one of the enjoyable aspects of if you're on a transatlantic flight, being not the TV and the food, but the looking out of the window and seeing the curvature of the Earth. I think that's wonderful. And Giovanni, you talked in when we were talking earlier, you were talking about the democratization of space, and I wonder what you meant exactly by that.
Yeah, well, I think there is this dichotomy between shall we go to Mars to spend all these resources and with all the problems we have on Earth. I think they're deeply connected. Like the more we make the crowd access space, the more respectful they will be in regards to our planet. It's really like completely the same. There is just one planet, as you said before. So I really feel that there is no contradiction in doing both. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. We've got about 10 to 15 minutes left to run, and we have those of you who are watching live on YouTube, we've had some questions coming in, and please do keep the questions coming. Sarah has asked, she doesn't say where she's from, but she says for Anas, did astrophotography, Anas, did it change your perception of the universe, or of our planet? That's an interesting question.
I did have a small idea of how small we are in this universe, but after practicing the astrophotography, it blew my mind how vast the universe is. Some galaxies are more than 50 million. Some are even more than 400 million light years away. So yeah, it changed a lot of how I think the universe is and how it works.
It's almost an inconceivable distance, isn't it? As part of Noor Riyadh, we have an exhibition on at the King Abdullah Financial District called Light Upon Light, Noor ila Noor. And one of the artworks there is called Searching for Darkness. It's by the Saudi artist Rashid Al-Shashai. And I think the work actually refers to this idea of cold, dark matter, this unknown sort of material quality that really fills up most of the universe. So it's interesting how when we look at the artworks that we brought to the festival, some of them have touched on the ideas that all of our panelists today are working with. There's another work by Daniel Canoga, who's a Spanish artist, and he's brought a work called Bifurcation, where he's bringing in data from around the world on lightning storms. And though that lightning storms, the data is then transferred into a projection that hits a building and projects lightning onto this building. It's a Zebra building in Kaft, this 300-meter high building. And when I was talking to Daniel about that, I said, he said, it's in real time. So you see a flash of lightning. It could be anywhere in the world. I said, are you sure there are enough? And he said, yeah, there's like any moment, there's 2,000 to 3,000 flashes, thunder, electrical storms around the world. And that brought to mind what we were talking about earlier about how when you see the planet, everything from a distance, from space, things look kind of interconnected in a way that we don't really appreciate. I actually had another question here from another Sarah, or possibly the same one, and she's asking Giovanni. She says Vitruvian VR looks amazing. I'm sure you're going to have to bring that to Riyadh now, Giovanni. Now you've shown us how it all works. I think we all want to have a go. And how far do you think you can go with it? And what are the future possible applications?
Great question. Well, we have a team of incredibly talented people that want to bring, of course, to develop the entertainment side. Because we, literally from all around the world, VR, virtual reality arcades and theme parks are asking, can we have a machine or more than one machine? But there is not just entertainment, there is research. We are collaborating with one of the most prestigious Italian universities to study the perspective and the perception of human body inside this kind of gyroscopic structure. So the data we gather are very important to understand how astronauts as well are going to perceive this kind of movement. So we are collaborating with the European Space Agency on that side. And so the possibilities are really big, and Vitruvian doesn't represent just a space exploration per se, but you can literally try so many different experiences on the machine. But we truly hope to bring to Riyadh and to the Middle East the machine very soon.
Thank you. And Mingus, I wanted to ask you about Riyadh, because you brought your work. I just unfortunately wasn't able to travel with you, but I know you came to Riyadh and you saw how the public were reacting to your work. Was this a similar reaction to people's reactions in Beijing and in Amsterdam and in Singapore?
I didn't know really what to expect, but then when I arrived, and of course we're situated in the heart of the historical center, where actually also the work starts, where the animation starts, so it's like a perfect fit. But I didn't know what to expect. But when I came here, I saw like in these parks, it's really like a culture of in the evenings going out and sitting with the whole family together. So when I saw all those reactions and people actually dropping down on their backs, lying under it for 10, 20 minutes even, that was really, really incredible. So great to see. Actually felt like gratitude. Like the people were grateful for the work, and I was grateful for them to accept it so wholeheartedly.
Yeah, a reaction that got online also was from the people very much how nice it was that we made something that really is connected to the culture. So what is really nice about this type of work is that we get to do the studies on how the cities have evolved. And despite the fact I wasn't there, we received a bazillion amount of messages on our Instagram of people saying thank you. And I think we didn't have any response like that before, especially digitally. It's so nice to have that connection with the people seeing it. Makes us very, very happy.
One of our artists said something quite interesting, was that, you know, in the Middle East, the sky is closer. I think that perhaps there is a sense of that, and even in the daytime. And I was wondering, Anas, you know, as a photographer of the sky, the Arab world, you know, there's pioneering work in astronomy being done in the Arab world going back hundreds and hundreds of years. There seems to me there's a very strong connection to the night sky in literature and poetry, as well as in art and as well as in science. Do you feel part of that, or is this just something that you picked up and when you saw that telescope in the shop window? Well,
at first, no. I felt like it's just a hobby and I want to enjoy it. But later on, I really wanted to introduce it to the people. I want to let the people experience what I experienced too. And I think it will change a lot of ideas about the universe, and it will make us maybe proud to be alive in this small planet. Yeah, that's a wonderful thought. And what can you actually see from the center of the city? What about those people who can't travel outside of Amsterdam or Riyadh or Milan? Is it possible to see any stars? Well, not quite. You can see maybe 10 to 15 stars at most here in Riyadh. Sometimes maybe more if it's clear. But no, you can't really enjoy the sky without going outside. You need to go. It will just make it will make you a very passionate person about the universe. I'm sure it is. Yeah. And I think we were talking, just to come back to Justus and Mingus, we were talking earlier on about actually light pollution and what could be done in terms of reducing light pollution. The one light that you showed us seems like a very good use of technology to actually cut light when it's not needed. What else can be done?
Yeah, I think overall it is a very a-technological thing. I think it just, in the end, it's about motivating people to do what Anas is doing, or in our case, to go up north or up east in the Netherlands and search the darkest parts and to actually really experience what it's like not being close to the light pollution. Must be said, 80% of the people worldwide is now living in urban areas where they cannot see the stars in all its grandeur. So there's a lot of work to do. So it's a very non-technological answer, and maybe pretty boring, but it's very much about just going out there and experience that sort of golden road, or whatever Anas was explaining. The golden river. To go experience it for yourself, to drive that 100 kilometers outside of Riyadh, or in the case of Amsterdam, to go towards the north of the Netherlands or the east. I don't know about Italy. There's much more spaces you can go than here in the Netherlands for sure. So it's a very simple thing, but I think it's very much needed that you do realize that we're very humble and small. And
yeah, and I actually think when I look at Anas and Giovanni, I think we all, three of us, three studios, we all use technology to actually make people more aware of that feeling. So it's really an effort to get people out there and more related to what we were used to.
And actually, we had a question come in from Federico for you guys at Fowl Studio. Federico says, Giovanni was talking earlier about the overview effect. And he's curious to hear what you think about that. It seems like you have a unique look at our planet. This is what Federico has said. So the overview, could you just, Giovanni, can you just give us a quick recap on that before we go back to Mingus?
Sure.
Justus?
Yeah, the overview effect is, again, an experience that just a handful of humans could experience. And it's a profound experience that astronauts can't really talk about, but they feel change. They feel that once you go up there, you become a different human. And so your perspective on your life changes somehow. This is the real overview effect. We are trying to recreate it. And sometimes we actually do it. Like people are getting really emotional, and we'll try to bring it to as many people as possible.
I see. So it's that view, that a sense that you get when you see the Earth as just one kind of dot, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually looked at one image. I remember you showed me where it was taken literally from the edge of our universe by the Voyager probe that has been out there for 30 years, and it's now just leaving our universe, I think. So, but the question actually was for you guys at the Val studio. So what was that was what Federico had posted.
Yeah. So it's actually that same what Giovanni said. We actually like to recreate the same feeling, and it's the same. Like we only experience it. Like it's only for a handful of people to experience it really as an astronaut or a cosmonaut. But we can see it from when like city gazing was inspired from the view from an airplane, because when you fly over a city at night, you feel you feel both great and small at the same time. And so it's really that same contradiction there. That is the same with the technological progress. It's at the same time tremendous, and at the same time it has a cost in terms of land or light pollution. So that's really indeed what inspired us.
Well, thank you. And we had a question also for Anas, saying, is there something that you as an astrophotographer dream of capturing with your equipment? I guess this is something that you haven't captured before.
Well, yeah, there are lots of targets I want to capture. But to be specific, there is an easy target I haven't captured before, and I'm waiting for the next May to capture it. It's the Whirlpool Galaxy. It's where two galaxies collide with each other, and it's in progress right now, so we can see how two galaxies collide. And I want to just capture this to, enjoy my own picture of how galaxies collide together.
So this is going to happen next year, you're saying? The galaxies are colliding right now, but we're going to be able to view it from Earth next year.
We are seeing it every year. It will be best viewed in next May, but in each year it will be the same month. It's only, but it will. I think we will not see the end of the collided progress. It will stay like this forever, I think, for us at least, humans.
Okay, well, Anas, thank you very much for that. I've really enjoyed looking at your pictures. I want to thank all of our panelists, actually. Anas Almajed, Giovanni Fantoni Modena from Vitruvian VR, Justus Bruns and Mingus Vogel from Val Studio. If you're in Riyadh, or indeed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Noor Riyadh continues until the 3rd of April with these artworks across this great city. If you're driving around Riyadh, you will have also noticed on the Kingdom Tower we have a star shining bright, which is an artwork created by the Belgian artist Kurt Vermeulen, and that's one of our symbols and beacons of Noor Riyadh. Also out in the west of the city, in the UNESCO World Heritage Site of At-Turayf, we have a wonderful artwork by Robert Wilson, which is called Palace of Light. And in that artwork, there is a silver sea beneath the ruins, beautifully preserved ruins of the Salwa Palace. And rising from that sea is a golden sun. By the same artist in the Kaft district, we have a moon glowing. And even in the exhibition Light Upon Light, we have an image of the sun that's drawing data from NASA by the Canadian-Mexican artist Rafael Lozana Hemmer. So many of the artists that are part of Noor Riyadh, these light artists, have been inspired by the skies and by the cosmos to create their artworks that are all of them responding in one way or another to the theme Under One Sky, which was the theme of this really fascinating panel this evening. So once again, thank you to all of our panelists. If you're here in Riyadh, I do hope that you can see the artworks that we have and visit our exhibition, which remains open until the 12th of June. Really, all in all, responding to the theme Under One Sky, we have light as poetry and poetry as light. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you soon.